everyone, and welcome to a Monday night Heroes and Hooligans, Babes and Blades production. This will be our all-ladies cast Vikings-themed campaign. This is a homebrew campaign that I have put together for these beautiful ladies and for you folks to enjoy as well. Leading into this campaign, this group has had the ability to role play with each other for about 2.5, 3 weeks, and they put their characters together and they've come together into the world. They've come into Calderland, and they are they're native to Calderland anyways, and they caught themselves in a blizzard. And all ended up finding an inn, the Battle Axe Inn, and where they were able to meet each other if they didn't already know each other, things of that sort. And that being said, I am going to turn it over to the folks at Battle Axe Inn.
Runa, a tall or a medium-sized metallic-looking woman, is going to be absent-mindedly walking back and forth in the inn, just sweetly humming different lullabies and of the like, just soft songs that aren't going to be disturbing anybody, and just kind of prestidigitation, cleaning little spots and just tidying up, walking about.
Kadra will be working with Ulsaga to tidy up, pick up any belongings that they have left, try to get everybody fed and warm tea in hands.
Yeah, that's kind of what Ulsaga is doing too. She's just kind of wandering around, picking up whatever she can and trying to make it a little bit more presentable.
And DM, you mentioned that the blizzard has ended, essentially, right? Even sort of outside the direct vicinity of the inn?
That is correct. Finally, after days and days of a raging blizzard, the snow has stopped. The sun still isn't shining, but at least the snow stopped. Upon looking outside, you will notice that the snow has drifted in the trees surrounding the inn. A small but clear path from the front of the tavern leads out to the road, and it is visible. Fresh footprints blemish the freshly fallen snow. One set of tracks, small in size, heading in the direction of Noovorik.
I think Fika's probably going to go out, see if she can venture out a little bit and find some fresh breakfast of some kind.
Sure thing. Fresh breakfast. That is a great idea. So what I'll have you do is when you get outside, I will have you roll me a survival to see if you can find any tracks, please.
Okay.
You said before that the tracks leading out to the road didn't look like anybody from our party, right?
Nope.
And forest is my favored terrain, so would I get advantage on this?
Absolutely, you would.
Woo! First roll! Okay. That's not terrible. Let's see, so that is math shit. 6 plus 2 is 18.
Okay, so as you kind of go out the front door of the inn with your bow on your back and your pack ready to find you some fresh food, you head around towards the woods on the right-hand side. And as you notice under the fallen tree a set of deer tracks, and they kind of lead about 40 foot away into the forest from the tavern. So about a 40 foot from the edge of the tavern into the trees, you can see the tracks.
Mhm.
And at the end of the tracks, you see 2 deer standing there, a mother deer and a baby doe.
Aw. I don't want to eat either of those.
Just how hungry are you for fresh breakfast?
Not that hungry. I think it's just going to sort of crouch down and like back up a little bit and just wait and see if Mama's man friend comes by.
What's your passive perception, please?
Passive perception is 15.
Okay. On the left-hand side, barely in your peripheral vision, you see a large 12-point buck, barely visible in the snow as he is covered in snow. He has a white pelt. His horns are a massive rack, and they kind of weave themselves together to form a sort of pattern. And the pattern looks very chainmail-y, kind of. And they're a little fuzzy. Their horns are fuzzy. They're not like sharp points, so they have like a white fur to them. And his pelt is sort of shaggy as opposed to like short and coarse and fine like a normal deer. He is very large and very elegant, but blends in with the snow very well.
Am I getting any like I have like no arcane powers or anything, but like are the spidey senses tingling that this is not something I should try to shoot and then eat?
I don't believe so.
Okay. I would like to see if I can bring it down.
Okay. So even though you're typically at advantage in your favored terrain, being as this creature is very well blended with the terrain around, and it's a snowy forest and not your standard, we're going to roll just regular, no advantage for this, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
So just attack.
Yep, go for it.
All right. Okay. With my longbow, that is a 17 to hit.
Okay. Describe this to me.
I mean, I would like to hit him in the heart if at all possible. I don't want him to suffer.
Okay. Armor class of 14, so I think a 17 would give you good enough aim.
Woo! And then I'm using my arrow D8, which makes me very, very happy. Longbow. Okay. So that's 8 points of damage.
Okay. So your arrow flies true and lands right in your target, dead center of the chest, hitting this large buck in the heart. He sort of staggers, taking a very large amount of damage from that, and he runs about 40 feet back and falls. And he just lays there breathing heavily in the snow. And where your arrow lies, his pelt is starting to wet, but it's not wetting with a red-colored hemoglobin. It is more of a metallic-y, silvery sheen coming from his wound.
Spidey senses have failed me.
Oh my.
The buck is still alive?
Yes,
he's still...
just barely. Just breathing very shallowly.
Oh, man. I'm gonna bend down and kind of put my hand like on his ribs and just sort of whisper to him, "Are you something special?" I can try to patch this up if I should not eat you, but you're going to have to help me a bit.
You you feel this sort of energy irradiate from this creature when you put your hand on him, and you don't hear words, but you feel emotion, and you feel thought of that this is meant to be the way that it is. So even he feels like the emotion you pull from him is like a relief, like a feeling of relief, like
Aw.
you know, the ending of a suffering almost of sorts. And his eyes glitter as he looks at you, and just shortly after you feel that like heavy sting of emotion, you can see that sort of flicker leave from his eyes, and his breathing sort of stops and just lays there in the snow.
Okay. So as soon as I felt that like fate or whatever, I would have pulled my dagger and like been prepared to like finish him off. But if it isn't necessary, I'll just put it back.
Yep, not necessary. So you have this large creature here with a fresh death wound to be able to skin it and eat it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna recover my arrow.
Okay.
Because we're level 1 and I need them all.
Is Finka close enough that one of us would have seen her, or like?
Yeah, like am I
her-
within shouting distance?
Oh yes, you're
Okay.
off. If you look at your tavern map, the back, what looks like another building is the second floor, right? So you're off on the bottom building on the right hand side, where that sort of like fallen tree on the back side is. That's the sort of area that you're in. So you're just right outside of
Oh wow. Okay.
the tavern.
Okay. Then I will shout to, whoever. Oi, I've got a real big breakfast if someone wants to come help me drag it.
Did any of us hear her?
You absolutely should have.
I'll go out and help her drag it like I did the last one. Because bacon.
I can't do.
Mostly because bacon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Um,
able to get this large buck and pull it out of the woods and back into the inn to wherever in the place that you would like to put it.
Yeah, whichever sort of
Olaf Saga
table
just saying that this deer was like something really unique and special is definitely going to take some extra time to give some kind of blessing, just like end of life blessing to help it into whatever transition it's supposed to go through.
Sure.
Does,
What would that sound like?
do I-
Tell me what this blessing would sound like. Like, give me a short, 2 or 3 lines of what this sort of blessing would be.
This is great. Great question. I think it's not really like words, really. It's more just like she like puts her hands on it and then she kind of like hums a little song and just kind of holds on to her talisman and just like internally kind of wishes it peace.
Okay. So you're just sort of doing a chant, like a sort of, chant native to wherever it is that you came from and went over it. Okay. That sounds great.
Runa in the background is going to start matching the song and harmonize with her, but very, very softly in the background, just to kind of boon her and support, but not overtake the moment.
Absolutely.
And Finka will definitely make like a, draw a rune in the air or whatever her dad taught her to do to, thank the goddess of the mountains for giving them food.
Kadra will pet the
Yeah.
snout, basically, and the antlers, and look at Finka. That's a real beauty that you have.
When I
He's-
did the
he's
chant,
odd.
did I feel anything coming from it? Like, did I
Okay.
notice anything?
So go ahead and give me, I would like you to give me a religion check, please.
Okay. Let's see. That's a 3. Right off the
Oops.
bat.
Then
That's a natural one.
no, you didn't feel anything. You feel at peace that you were able to provide some sort of funeral rites to such a beautiful, majestic creature, and you were able to thank it for providing for you what it's about to. Other than that, no, nothing. You don't feel anything extra.
Cool.
So
Can they all see that the blood isn't red? Like, is that still fairly obvious?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially since you would have recovered your arrow. You being a hunter, you know what it's like when you go through arrow recovery in a freshly fallen creature. That blood is still sort of pumping, and so it does leak out onto the fur.
Would Kadra have any idea why it would be different?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
So Vex is gonna step up and just kind of gently run her fingers across the antlers, kind of transfixed and interested in the design that they have grown into. And that's it. That's just what she does.
And when you touch this, Vex, like the fuzz that covers the antlers, it's like a very fine sort of silvery kind of color, very similar to a caribou, but it's like incredibly soft, like the softest feeling fur that you have ever felt in your life, except for like magnified.
I'm gonna continue to touch it then, because I will not want to stop feeling that for a long time.
I mean, in addition to breakfast, I imagine we could get something really warm from this shaggy hide. I still feel kind of weird about this, but I got the impression from him after I shot him that this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm trying not to feel bad about it.
Then
It
was
seems like
most
there's a lot
likely-
about this.
Go ahead.
What was that?
If you got the feeling that this was meant to be, as someone else was saying, much like everything else here, it probably was.
It seems like everything here is just kind of faded for some reason.
Yeah, that's fair.
After a few moments, Vex would kind of rejoin out of a transfix from touching this amazingly, wonderfully soft set of antlers, and ask if anyone would mind if she made a set of runes out of the antler.
That sounds
Ooh,
really
yeah.
lovely.
It does.
That's a good idea.
Runa again is
so-
going to prestidigitation
Definitely.
the area after the taking care of the animal and everybody's done what they need to. She'll come back and just lightly clean up behind everybody.
Okay. So, Vex, you want to harvest the antlers, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay. A successful DC 12 survival check will give you both antlers unscathed. If you hit a 10, you will get one unscathed, and an 8, you'll get one that has taken some damage.
Ooh, I got a 5.
Okay, so you'll get one antler design has been sort of broken in attempting to get it off.
Okay.
Because they're so woven together and interlocked, it wasn't something that was like a normal taking the antlers off of a deer skull, you know?
Okay.
You've got one sort of damaged, lightly damaged, not too bad. You can still make what you want to make out of it, but you only got one. So you could only get, I don't know, one small set of 4 or 5 runes out of it.
Okay.
And Finka, I assume that you would like to also harvest the pelt, correct?
Yes, please.
We're going to go with sort of the same situation, except for
Okay.
to get the full pelt with no extra damage is going to be a DC 14. And to get the pelt, damaged pelt, that would only yield you maybe 1 item instead of 3 or 4, will be a DC 12.
Okay. All right. So survival. Ooh, that's good. That's good. That's an 18.
Okay, so you are able to cut away this pelt very easily from this deer, not damaging it at all, making sure you've gotten all the way down to where the hooves meet the leg and all the way around. So it is large enough to make the equivalent of 3 regular size leather items, or 2 large ones, or 4 small ones. So you've got the ability to make a few things out of it.
Okay.
And then your meat, I'm just going to give it to you that you got your meat off perfectly well.
Cool.
All right.
We
So you
do
have-
a bacon in 5.
All right. So you have breakfast. That has taken you, I would say you guys got up probably around 7 in the morning, and about 2 hours time has passed. So it's roughly 9 o'clock in the morning. Sun has come up a little bit more. It is still kind of gray out, but you can see it's a little brighter than it was. It's sun's kind of hiding behind the clouds, but it's risen in the sky a little more, and you can see it glistening off of the snow in the road out ahead of you, where the tracks are leading.
What do you all think of the
towards
tracks?
Noovorik.
There are tracks.
Yes, sorry. There are
Yeah.
tracks leading out from the inn, and they're not ours.
Runa is incredibly curious and is going to glide out to check out the tracks.
Do you think somebody's watching us?
They're very small.
They don't look like they're from our visitor the other day. They're way too fresh for that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who
Are
was
they-
here.
Do they
Are they
lead
leading
directly?
straight from the door?
Right. Yeah.
They're not at your door, but they're in the road, like in front of the tavern. So like if you look on the map, you can see like here is your door here. But the tracks are sort of like out here.
Oh, so
Okay.
it's just somebody walking past us.
Yes, but they start about here. So like they're just like a set that starts somewhere about midway here and head in the direction of Noovorik. That's the curious part, right? Like they're not directly at your door looking like somebody was in. They're just fresh in the area in front of the tavern here.
I want to
And
go
do they only
outside
look
and
like
kind
they're
of
going in one
follow where they
direction?
came from.
You would like to look where one person said they want to look where they came from, and somebody else asked if they're heading in one direction, correct?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, sorry. I wanted to know, I want to just like walk outside and follow the opposite direction of where they're headed. So I want to just kind of follow up through that gate and see where they were coming from, like where they originated.
So they do only head in one direction. Yes. There's only one set of tracks. Yes. 2, following the tracks backwards to this sort of animal pen, you will see at the gate. You don't see anything inside the gate. It is still fresh, unblemished snow, but the tracks start at the gate and then they head out towards Noovorik. So they start here and then they head that direction. Does that answer
And
all
there has-
questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there
good.
have never been any live animals in that pen since we've been here?
No,
Okay. Didn't think so.
there hadn't been any live anything in this building other than you folks and Adi since
Right.
you had all come across it. That is correct.
Right.
Maybe it's a ghost.
All I can think about is how many days I was stuck in the snow. I would hate to feel like this person befell the same fate. Perhaps they're wandering. Should we look?
I think so.
I mean, it's creepy. I feel like we should look just on the principle.
At least to know who it was, for sure.
At least for safety's sake.
It is a bit odd they didn't come say hello.
Maybe they didn't know anybody was here. It still looks pretty beaten up outside.
Well, the fact that this is not someone who came and then left. This is someone who just left.
Maybe we just didn't notice that they were here for several days. Or it's a ghost.
Maybe
Well,
they
the
were
way the
invisible.
tracks are, they would have had to have been invisibly somehow standing perfectly still in a single set of tracks and then started walking. Like there's no like tracks that they're like wandering around or that they came from somewhere else
Could
Or it's a ghost.
could they possibly?
or that.
Maybe they can fly.
Oh, that's
I suppose
possible.
that's an option too.
Flying
I like
that
that better than Ghost. Not by
much
much.
better than ghosts.
Although, even if they
Okay.
did fly, it's a bit odd they didn't make noise to be heard.
To be fair, would we have heard anything over the storm?
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
might have.
Some of us would.
Maybe,
I was going to ask
but-
DM, I think as a Warforged, when I take my long rest, I'm in a stasis, but I'm still semi-aware. Would there be a possibility that I heard anybody outside while everyone was sleeping and I was kind of watching over in my sleep?
No, and the Cora also has supersonic hearing and is able to like hear things coming from a fair well distance off. And neither of you, with your heightened senses, picked up any sort of noises of anybody flying, landing, touching, moving around, anything like that.
Well, it's a ghost
Ulfie?
or a spirit.
Can I just, out of curiosity, I want to cast Eyes of the Grave, and I just want to like kind of peek around for a little bit and just kind of see if I pick up any kind of like undead anything. That would that include ghosts or spirits or whatever?
Read to me what Eyes of the Grave does. I do not have your sheet open.
As an action, you know the location of any undead within 60 feet of you that isn't behind total cover and that isn't protected from divination magic until the end of your next turn. You can use this feature 3 times per long rest.
Okay, so I want to stop you from burning that because no undead. The only thing that you would pick up is your freshly buried bones, and those don't even have a life force in them. So you would just pretty much fizzle that out. So I'll just give you a no, don't burn that.
That was going to be my question. Ulfie, where did you bury the innkeeper?
I'm just going to kind of like wave off in the direction that Vex and I buried him. And I'm no, he's okay. We definitely put him to rest. He's comfortable.
Okay.
But you didn't bury him in the animal pen, just to be
Not,
sure.
not in the animal pen.
Okay.
That would be kind of rude.
I mean, yeah,
No.
but I don't.
We buried
take your
him
life.
where we found the box.
Considering the state of this place before we found it, it might be possible that something befell them a while past.
Yeah.
Would we like to go and check on them, or?
Maybe someone should just go make sure that hasn't been disturbed.
Oh, yes, the bartenders. The barkeep's grave.
Just in case.
I can go and look just to be on the safe side, but I'm very confident that he was comfortable.
Okay.
So I'm just going to wander around and look at his gravesite and make sure it wasn't tampered with or anything.
No, the only footprints or anything that you see over in that area are the ones from Finca and the rest of whoever helped her bring that very large deer inside.
Kadra is going to walk back inside the inn. She's going to gather her coat and her gloves and her weaponry and everything else and pocket bacon. And she's going to step back outside. So are we going to follow them?
I would like to, yes.
I would like to as well.
I just want to be outside for a while. So
Also,
yes,
that
let's go.
100%.
We have been
100%.
cleaning for such a long time.
Right.
I want
I'm
to
getting
feel the
cabin
snow
fever.
beneath my feet.
Agreed.
Rather badly.
I feel a little bit cooped up in there for now.
Yep. It was nasty. Don't get me wrong, but I need to be outdoors now. And if we had a creepy visitor, I'd like to know who they are.
So you kind
Uh,
of
It's
clean.
enough, I want to make sure they can move on. That's my concern.
You're
Fair.
nicer than me. I think is gonna go grab all her shit and make sure that we've like distributed the buck such that we can carry as much of him. with
Runa
us.
Yes.
would like to wave over. I know I don't myself eat or drink, but I have some compartments. And one of her forearms kind of pops open a little bit. If anybody is overloaded, or I would like to at least carry my fair share to help out with later, I'm happy to take some.
Sure, that seems handy. I wish I had arm compartments.
Sorry, I got booted out for a second, but I'm back.
You're
Welcome
okay.
back.
Vex is going to go ahead and make sure to grab the ornate box with the poem, the deed, and the small statuette and pack them
Yes.
safely in her bags.
Definitely
Seeing
make sure we
everyone
grab
pack.
all
So sorry.
stuff.
Seeing everyone pack up and remembering being stuck in the snow, Runa will also gather her belongings just in case.
I'm going to make sure everything is like nice and secured and locked up before we go so that nobody else can like come into the inn while we're out.
Out of curiosity,
Also-
we have a key, right?
Yes, it's hanging by the door. There's 2 keys. There's the one for the main door, and then there's one for the animal pen door.
Oh, I'll grab the keys and I can, I'll just put them on like a necklace and I'll put them in my blouse shirt thing.
Sounds good.
So everybody's able to pack up. You're able to get all your things and lock up your inn here that you have been in for a little while, and it's all boarded up. You made sure to secure it up, so it should be good. Finca, you were able to get enough meat from that deer that all of you that eat the meat have 1 week's worth of meat rations.
Awesome.
And you will have enough Finca for 2 extra people if anybody needs it or anything of the sort.
Thank you, Finca.
Okay, so each of us has 3 days worth of food, and then just like in my pack or whatever, I've got 3 more people worth of 3 days of food, or 3 more people worth
No.
of 1 day of food.
You have 7 days of food for each person. Okay.
Oh, for a week.
And
I'm
then-
sorry.
Yes, a week. 7 days for each person, and then 2 extra sets of full week rations.
Got it.
Okay. So we're packed up at the inn, and we're headed towards following the tracks, which the tracks are leading towards the town of Noovorik. Now, all of you are familiar with Noovorik's location, as Calderland is where you are all currently residing. So it is common knowledge to you what the lay of the land is and the few important places along such land. You are at the northeast corner in the Battle Axe Inn currently, and you are heading to the sort of southwest directions towards Noovorik. There is main road to travel that you're able to sort of traverse it. On foot, it takes you 2 days' time from one side of the island basically to the other. And then Noovorik is about a half a day's travel from the bridge on the second island. So you're about 3 days worth of travel is what it's going to take you to get from the Battle Axe into Noovorik. And the tracks that you follow, they follow into the sort of main road that leads to Noovorik, and they're indiscernible in that way once you get sort of past Fallblunder, which is the giant mountain there in the middle. So you're going to lose that specific set as traffic picks up and you get closer towards the south side of the island.
As we're walking, Ulfsaga is humming to herself very loudly and obnoxiously and very, very poorly, where like the chanting that she was doing before was very like rhythmic and practiced. This is completely obnoxious.
My Dana used to keep bears away by doing that exact thing. So good job. No bears.
Runa's going to ask, are you really trying to keep away bears?
Oh no, I'm just in a good mood.
Then
What
I'll
are you
join your
singing,
song.
Pete?
Bears
Runa
have
sings just as
exquisite
badly.
musical taste. So when they hear off-key singing, they stay far, far away.
What do you mean off-key singing?
I don't know what I meant.
All art is good art. And Runa keeps singing along. Just bolstering
My point
her.
is that we're making noise and the bears are going to go the opposite direction. So
I don't like bears, so I will join in.
I think they're pretty
oh,
cute.
good. Now there's more of them.
Everybody
All
If you're
singing
traveling-
is good.
Everyone's a critic.
You never know. We could get a contract out of this.
You all sound quite
We can start a
lovely.
band.
Very lovely.
So you're traveling and singing along like a merry band of adventurers here. And once you get, you're able to stop off in some of the towns along the way to stay for the night. With the weather being so bad, most of the innkeepers are doing complimentary stays. If you eat anything, it's a silver for the dinner and a copper for a drink. So you're able to stop off for those 2 nights in the 2 towns that you pass on the way, the one with the red top and then the one farther south with the blue top. And then once you get into the town with the blue top, you start hearing these sort of rumors of some chaos going on in Noovorik over some sick people being sick.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh dear.
You don't hear enough to like pick out details, but it's just like rumors that you can hear like as you're walking by, like, oh, did you hear somebody else passed away? Like, oh, that somebody else was sick. Like, you don't hear any specifics, just that there have been some deaths and that there's been some sort of sickness going around in Noovorik.
Just because Vex is still, it's still on her mind. When we pass through these towns, Can we ask anyone if they remember what happened at the Battle Axe Inn?
Yeah, you can.
Does anyone remember?
Most people just say that it's been a long-standing tavern and the owners shut it up a long time ago because they couldn't afford to keep it open anymore. But that it was like at one point the most sought out tavern of adventurers in all of the land, with the best stories and, you know, the best trophies on the walls and things like that.
Okay.
We're definitely going to have to give that place some new life.
Have we
And the
settled
new
on a
name. Can I-
name?
I think there was some good ideas passed around. Very wordplay.
Did we ever decide on a name? We should
I don't
really
think so.
we should really think about it.
I liked Ice Storm Inn. That was a fun one.
That was
I
fun.
vote for that one.
Lovely. Runa, behind all these conversations, is going to be singing a ballad of a mysterious battle axe inn that became a glorious place for anyone seeking refuge. Storming in. I storm in. She's just going to be kind of slowly and quietly sowing those seeds behind.
And
love
can
it.
I ask around at least once in each town that we stop in to see if anyone has, if either of my parents have passed through? Okay. Just checking.
So you figured out that the inn was closed due to financial reasons, and that pretty much everybody up there basically died due to whatever natural things happened. And you're starting to pick up rumors of a sort of sickness as you head towards Noovorik. So you've spent 2 nights off, and you're on your 3rd day, which will take you, like I said, about a half a day to get to Noovorik if you get up at a decent time in the morning and go.
I have a question about did anybody, like, while we were asking about the previous owners, did anybody mention anything about the barkeep or anybody that would have stayed at the inn until, like, basically until they died?
They didn't really talk too much about the owners. Just said that they were, you know, former adventurers who opened a place for other adventurers, but things became expensive and they closed it up and nobody ever saw them again.
Interesting.
And we find no other details about this illness, even if we ask around.
Go ahead and roll me an investigation while you're asking somebody in passing.
Okay.
Through all of this, are we able to keep track of the original footprints?
The second town is where you lose the footprints.
Okay, was there kind of
Crowded
like a
road and
gist
all
as
that.
to where they went, or
No,
we
they kind of
just-
got lost in the traction of busy, you know, footways.
DM, is it possible
There-
to give a bardic inspiration to this role?
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful. I'm gonna just kind of again be in the background and singing my songs and just telling the tale of the inn as I imagine it at this time.
Go ahead and add your D4, Cora.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask around while this is happening and see if anybody noticed anybody just like kind of unusually small, kind walking through town. Maybe a ghost, perhaps. You know, anybody just happened
Anybody
to
see a ghost?
Do you see dead people?
Or someone who can fly. Remember, we like that theory better.
I mean, you liked it better.
I mean,
How is that not less
everybody-
creepy than a ghost?
When you start asking people, like, hey, do you see dead people walking around? They just kind of look at you like,
I mean, old Saga is
is this
very-
person okay? Like, did they just crawl out of a cave?
Hit their
They're looking at you
heads.
like,
a lot
you're
of
giant and you have like these tattoos, and they're just like, is this large lady really looking down to me, asking me if I see dead people? Like, is this a trap? Like, am I going to get punched if I say no?
So,
But no, they don't
the thing
see.
about Old Saga is that she's very large, and she is not at all aware of her size. She is just like this overly. She's basically like a very large, buff Disney princess of death, and
Love
so
it.
she sees herself as this very sweet, caring person that's just like walking up to people and like trying to find this ghost person so that she can lay them to rest. She is completely innocent in her own eyes. She does not see herself. she's like the Great Dane that thinks it's a lapdog.
Yeah, no,
Excellent.
they're just look at you like,
Go for it.
really, are you asking me if I see dead people? And then finally the last person that you ask is like, the cleric is on the other side of town, dear. I think you should have a stop there. I think you might be slightly touched. And they just kind of walk away and
Can I mean mug
just
them
shake their
before
head
they
as
walk
they're
away?
walking away.
I wanna
You
mean
can
mug them.
give
Yeah.
them
This is my friend
You
you're
can give
talking
them-
to, buddy.
all the dagger eyes you want, like all the dagger eyes. Cora,
You know, my mother used to tell me the same thing. She's gonna wander off.
Yes, hi, hello. Can you tell me more about these illnesses? That sounds concerning. Thank you. Just this blindfolded woman coming up to strangers doing that this entire time.
And I thought I was lacking in social skills. Good Lord.
nobody seems to know really much of anything as the news is just really starting to travel. They just say that it came out of nowhere and there have been several deaths, but it seems to be fairly isolated to Noovorik.
Oh dear, that's concerning.
Oh,
Thank
Saga,
you for
darling,
your
I
time,
think they
though.
think you're crazy.
So
Apparently, if you ask about dead people, everyone thinks you're crazy.
wild theory, hear me out. What if it was a ghost? They showed up to get our help to help Noovorik.
Maybe it was somebody that died in Noovorik.
Right.
Why didn't they come in and
Noovorik.
ask then?
Maybe
Maybe
they were
go-
shy.
Ghosts are weird, you know? They may have been prideful.
It's true.
Huh? Seems like there's easier ways to ask for help, but sure.
I mean, there's a
I
lot
mean,
of people in the world that don't want to ask for help, so I don't think that changes when you die.
I mean, for a
Yeah.
ghost, I feel like this
I
is pretty
suppose.
direct, actually.
It also could have been a relative of the inn owners.
Oh,
That's true.
that's a good
Maybe.
point. That's a
Um,
very good point.
I'm gonna take the advice of the person that called me touched, and I'm gonna go find the cleric in town. I'm gonna see.
Okay.
Vex is gonna go with you because
Yeah, I'm gonna
she's
run
still
after
very
you as you
interested.
just walk away.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
skipping, like
Are-
Disney princess style.
Oh, are we
I'm
going
hopping.
somewhere? Okay.
I'd love to follow. Runa's
So
going to
you
be
guys-
humming along.
You head off through town and you head towards the cleric. And the cleric is sort of off to the side of town, overlooking the water. Very, very segregated, but still like included in town. It's got its very nice little space. This is your cleric's up here. We're here at this little town here. So you're up here. And so this is where your cleric is. And you get up there and there's just one acolyte attending the sort of temple, we'll call it, I suppose, wherever clerics are. And they're just sort of attending to the braziers around. It's very quiet in there. The light is very low, few candles around. A very large oil lantern burns at the end of the hall. And at the end of the hall, you see a sort of staff representing each of the major Norse gods. And they're kind of, a place for anybody who, prays to those people to go up and, say their piece or whatever. It's a very generic temple for anybody who worships to come in, and the acolyte greets you at the door, offering you a piece of bread and something to drink, glass of water.
Kadra is going to kind of hang back and take a moment at the statue for Odin and Freya.
Perfect.
Anybody
Anybody
is
who,
going to float around Braggy.
sure. Anybody who takes the time to pray to your deity, you will get 1 inspiration. Go ahead and mark that on your sheet or wherever your notes are. The way my inspirations, when I hand them out, work is it's basically advantage on a roll. So if you fail something, you can re-roll it. That's how my sort of inspirations work. So anybody who takes the time to pray to their deity will take that sort of blessing, right? We'll call it a blessing instead of an inspiration. Since you have a bard, we'll call it a blessing.
Wonderful. Thank you, DM.
Thank you.
I think before Ulfsaga looks for anything that has to do with her god, she wants to walk up to the cleric and just introduce herself and kind of chat them up a little bit.
Very androgynous. They wear a brown robe-like tunic. They have their head covered with a hood. Their face is very androgynous, no gender, just a they. They present you with the very genderless name of Nyx and offer their thanks for coming to the temple, things of the sort.
Hello, my name is Ulfsaga, Grimbringer Yarnfeather, and I am here because I think that we have a ghost, and I just wanted to know if you know any very small ghosts that have walked through town today, or in the past couple of days. And I was also wondering if you know anything about Noovorik.
To be fair, it could be a large ghost with small feet.
Also also a possibility. Or if you've seen any flying people, just
Who
kind of
could
anybody,
also be ghosts.
just kind of anybody with small feet that's come from the northeast. Specifically from the Battle Axe Inn, but it's going through some transitions right now. We're the new owners.
They will just very plainly answer you back that they don't haven't seen anybody that they would pick out of the ordinary, that they're an acolyte at a temple where people come regularly to worship. So all sorts of different people that you wouldn't expect come. And so they haven't seen anything out of the ordinary. They haven't seen or heard anybody from the Battle Axe Inn in a very long time. And as far as the rumors in Noovorik, all that they've heard is there has been a disease and some deaths. No details have made it. They haven't received a raven yet.
So you don't know anything of the local dead? Anything that might have come up for a small person or a person with small feet?
Nope.
Or a flying person?
Nope.
Biscuits. Okay.
I saved some of those.
If you would like,
want one.
yeah, I was just going to say there are some biscuit wafers.
I think I will sort of awkwardly genuflect in a generic direction, but that's it. Probably not enough for inspiration because it's more everybody else is doing it than genuine religiosity.
Well, Sangha is going to wander around and see if she can find any kind of relic for her deity here. She's not really like a main pantheon kind of goddess, so she's not sure if it would be around.
You'll find it in a little side room, which looks like a place where they would prepare bodies for services, things of the sort. Kadra.
Yes.
I would like you to roll me a religion check to determine whether or not you are going to receive this sort of blessing.
Okay.
given your current state of affairs.
You said religion?
Yes,
Did
That
we
would,
make-
that would be a 4.
that would be you when you approach these statues that you wanted to pay your respects to. You, instead of feeling the blessing, you sort of receive this cold shoulder feeling.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Did we make any jerky from the deer that was killed this morning?
Don't know that we would have had time.
I wouldn't say it was necessarily jerky. More like I would say Finka was probably smart enough, knowing that you didn't have time to make jerky, to salt cure some things so that way it would travel well.
Okay.
Given that that's their sort of forte is things of the woods.
Yes.
So shelf stable rations for the week.
Okay,
essentially.
I'm gonna walk up to Finka and ask if I could just have like a chunk of it. From the
Sure. I mean, we've got extra, so I'll hand her like
just like a small
3 or
piece
4 days worth.
specifically from the deer from this morning.
Yeah. I think we've probably gone through most of the deer from last week.
Right.
Runa would like to pop up and say, again, I have plenty saved. She's going to pop up in her arm and take out her bundle of a week's ration and pass it off and say, here you go. Will this
Oh,
help?
no. I'm not hungry. I just wanted a piece of the deer from this morning specifically. And I'm going to just take the small chunk and I'm going to set it next to the little relic altar thing for the goddess. And just kind of do like a small little chant for her.
Kadra, even though she felt that little cold shoulder, is still going to pour out some of her strongest alcohol into the little offering bowl for Odin before she walks away.
Perfectly done. So everybody is able to make their sort of offering or whatever sort of commune that you have with the deity that touches your individual self. Once you're done, the acolyte, he just goes back to his business after conversing with you, tending to things, keeping the braziers at check, making sure everything's cleaned up, yada, yada, yada. I would say it's roughly about noontime now after you're, exploring through the village, talking to people, taking time to try to hear some of the rumors and then go up to the temple and all of that.
Do we have time to make it all the way to Noovorik before dark at this point?
Yes, you would, if you left now, you would get there basically right as night is like officially fallen.
Runa is
Do we
happy
want
to
to
keep
push
on
on?
traveling.
Especially if there's something going on in town. I think getting there sooner rather than later is probably the best.
Agreed.
Unless
Agreed.
anybody has any other business here.
Not really. Not
No.
I don't
really.
really have any other business, but I'm wondering what we're expecting to be able to do.
Don't know. Honestly, for me at least, given that my mother's a healer, I'm hoping a little bit, maybe sort of, that she might be there,
Oh, that makes sense.
helping out, etc. I can bandage
I
things
just-
and put holes in things, but I don't know how helpful that's going to be.
I'm not.
I
Very good at
just
putting
feel
holes
the
in things, but
spirits-
I can definitely bandage things. Maybe. I can maybe definitely bandage things.
It's not difficult.
Ready to travel then?
Ready.
Onward, hose.
On to
That's
Noovorik.
not how that goes, is it? I must have heard that wrong.
Vex, what were you saying about spirits?
The spirits just seem to be pushing all of us towards Noovorik. So we should go there with haste.
Sounds
So,
good. The gods
starting-
will surely. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The gods will surely smile upon our haste.
So hastily indeed, you have already have your things packed up from leaving your sleep place this morning, and you head off to Noovorik, and you get in, and it's dark in town, right? Like you're just getting in, and the sun has officially set. It's now dark time, and snow gently starts to fall from the sky and wind biting your cheeks as you approach the town of Noovorik. You can see some lights in what appears to be a graveyard. Noovorik is a fishing outpost that is home to several hundred dwarves and elves. The sun has just set, sinking behind what looks to be fresh graves dug in the graveyard, and they seem to be the graves of the people who have caught this disease as of late. There are a few folks left from the village gathering there to pay their final respects to the, remains of these fallen, and most others have headed off for the evening.
Is there an inn or anything that seems to be a lively area that we could congregate for the night?
There is. Let me get that for you, because I have.
Can I ask around the town and see if there is maybe another local cleric around here?
There very certainly is a local cleric, and they are actually in the graveyard now.
Holy shit. That's exactly where I wanted to go. Okay. I'm just gonna head the direction of the cleric in the graveyard. See if I can help out.
I'll follow her.
Okay. So after you head towards the graveyard, you head in, and you hear like the cleric is speaking and sort of saying some like last rites as they're wrapping up for the evening. And as you kind of stand there, you hear a voice pop up behind you as you wait for the cleric to finish. And the gruff voice speaks softly from behind you. "Thank you for attending Ergon's service," it says. And then when you turn around, you meet the gaze of Elro Adaltar, a weathered elf, retired ranger, and leader of the village. "I'm sorry to speak of dark tidings under such circumstances, but I believe that Noovorik might be in danger, and I'm hoping you could help us."
In Elvish, as I turn around, I want to just kind of thank him for introducing himself and ask a little bit about the person that was being buried.
Who is this asking me, Miss Opsaga?
What?
Is this
Oh,
Opsaga
yeah,
asking
Opsaga,
me?
yeah.
Okay. He tells you about the body, and he begins to explain to you that these bodies are people who were returned from an adventure about 2 months ago. Or they had gone about an adventure 2 months ago. They had only been back for a few days when they started coming down with this sort of strange affliction, making them move sort of slowly and causing these like weird blue veins to appear all over their body. They tried to do every spells that they could. The priest of the village tried spells to heal the man, and it didn't work. And nothing they did could stop this sort of bizarre disease that was like overtaking them. And the guy sort of battled this affliction, like they battled it for a little while before their body fully turned into ice. Until yesterday, they had believed that it was an isolated incident, but a few other people had started to come down with the same sort of symptoms in, the last couple of days. And they thought, like, at first, maybe it was people that they came into contact with, but it wasn't. It had been people that hadn't sort of come into contact with them as well. And he will offer up the bit of information that the only reason he's asking for help from you is because the mother of one of the people in your party had been here also helping, but had contracted the illness. And one of the last things that they had said before fully turning to ice was to find Finka.
Is Finka with us?
Shoot.
Am I there?
I had assumed that you had all kind of gone together.
Yeah, that was my assumption too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Finka.
You wouldn't happen to know anything about what's my mom's name again? Shit. What's my mother's name? Sorry. Backstory. You wouldn't happen to know anything about I'm Finka, by the way. I'm Diana's daughter. You wouldn't happen to know anything about our homestead being burned to the ground sometime, I would assume, between when Diana got here to help and about 2 weeks ago when I got home from a hunting trip. Do you think it's related to this?
He offers condolences about your home, but he offers no knowledge as he didn't know anything about it. And nothing has seemed to have caught fire except for the exact opposite with this disease, where they're sort of kind of turning to ice.
I'm sure this is a completely stupid question, but did you try thawing them out?
He will explain several things that they tried to do. He'll walk you through the list of spells that they tried as the disease was sort of overtaking the folks. He'll walk you through, anything that they tried to do after, whether they tried to heat them or things of the sort, anything that they could do, but nothing has seemed to really help as of late.
A bonus question. What are you doing with the frozen people afterwards?
Well,
Just that.
he kind of looks at you and says in a very low voice so that like the villagers couldn't hear. He says, well, I didn't want to bury them alive because I feel like they're still alive. I've never seen anybody freeze to death like this before. It's very different. But I've kept them each in a room in the basement of the chapel, so that way if we could figure out what's causing this, that maybe there's a way to bring them back. But we just needed to give their families some sort of peace. But please just don't tell them that we didn't lay the bodies to rest. I don't want them to think any mal intent.
Well, I have a clarifying question. So the original adventuring party, they came back and they were sick with something after a little while of being there, and then they started to die, right? And they couldn't find, there wasn't any kind of cure that could be found. And so those are the ones that are being buried. And then afterwards, the townsfolk and the healer that had come, I think his mother, had come and they started freezing.
Yeah, they contracted the disease also. So
is it the same disease?
Yes, it's the same thing. Same set of symptoms, same sort of everything happens to each of these people.
Oh. So
there's frozen people blocks in the basement
this is
of the chapel.
So why is the adventuring party being buried but the rest of the townsfolk are not?
He says that they had some they were just doing them in phases, right? So they were doing the bodies for the first, and then they're working towards the second. But there's just been so many deaths in this sort of large fishing settlement that they had to do them just a little bit at a time, because they had tried to help them and fix the frozen in the very beginning. So they're just now finally, quote unquote, laying them to rest.
Have you figured out how it's being transferred from one person to another? Is it like
They
through
haven't.
touch, or
They have no idea. They haven't figured anything out about it yet.
Where did the adventuring party come from? Where had they adventured?
They had been off adventuring in a place called a place.
Oh, I've heard of the place.
Yeah,
Nobody should ever go to the place.
Isle Cross.
Nice.
Isle Cross.
Did
Is
they
that
bring anything back with
far
them?
from here?
Did they bring any like artifacts back with them, or any treasure or anything like that?
Well, let's see. Did they? Okay, let me clarify some of my details here. 2 months ago, they returned from their trip after being gone for a whole year. My apologies. I mistook that when I was reading my notes to you. A few days after returning is when they started to come down with the affliction, and that's when all of the things started happening. There is another person that had passed with, that had started contracting the disease shortly after, and she had some connections to some of the adventurers as well, and they thought maybe she could offer information, but she didn't. As far as he knows, he's not really sure if they brought anything back. They hadn't really gone through like their belongings or anything, but they hadn't spoke of anything extravagant as well, if that makes sense.
So those folks have been buried already, right?
No,
Or they-
nobody's.
I
Those
think
are the
they're-
ones that they're working on right now.
Okay.
I had the impression they were burying, in air quotes, people for the sake of the town, but everybody was in the basement.
Yeah, that is correct.
I don't suppose my father came through here along with my mother. Alphadon Stasira.
Your mother was alone when she arrived.
Okay.
Do you mind if before they're buried, if I go and take a look at the bodies or talk to the cleric that's working on the burials?
Yeah, he'll take you to the temple and take you downstairs, or the chapel, whatever you want to call it, and take you down. And he will say, like, please swear you won't tell anybody, before he like lets you into the room.
I won't tell
Inka?
anybody. I just want to see if I can help.
Do you want to be alone?
I mean, I'd like to see whatever's left of her. They seem to think they're not like dead, so I'm gonna hold on to that for the moment.
Okay.
I'd rather know than not know, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Runa's gonna awkwardly and heavily pat your back in support. A little harder than she means to, but she's trying to be there for you.
Thanks. And that might bruise.
I'll work on that. Sorry.
You're trying, dear. It's fine.
So he opens this door and lets you in. And have a picture of this. I have a thing for this, but it's not the thing for this. This is the thing. Yes, pictures. Pictures. Always the pictures. I'll show you what the thing looks like when my fingers can move as fast as my brain does. And here we go. Okay. So he sort of takes you down to the basement, and you start out in this sort of long hallway end here. And he brings you down, and you can see there are several chambers, most of them housing only one specific person at a time, so that they had their own sort of piece in this place. And so there's a lot of rooms with bodies and things, and it's just an underground sort of catacomb sort of place. But there you go. That's what it looks like. So he'll show you the one with your mom in it first, because he has a heart, and then he'll tap Ulfsaga on the shoulder, and he'll take you to the body of the first person to get sick, where the main cleric is also at.
Okay, before I wander off, I kind of want to just like walk over to Finka and like kind of give her like a little nudge and be like, hey, we're gonna get through this and we're gonna figure this out. Okay, we'll save your mom. And then
Thanks, I appreciate that.
And then I'll follow him to the other cleric.
I would like to examine the fuck out of my momsicle.
That seems dark.
That's a new
Okay.
vocabulary word.
That's Sarah, not Finka. Finka doesn't know
You
what a popsicle
said
is.
my momsicle. Jesus Jones. Oh my God. Okay, so your momsicle, exactly as you called it.
Like I said,
is,
Finka doesn't know what a popsicle is. That's Sarah talking.
So your mom, she is sort of the way she kind of froze fully. She looked like she was sitting in a rocking chair. And so they kind of tried to make her sitting in a rocking chair instead of laying down to be as delicate as possible, ice and all. But she looks like your mom, except for blue and cold and icy.
So she's not like encased in ice. She is just like you stuck her in a deep freeze.
Yes.
So it's not like a block of ice with a person in it. It's just a frozen
No,
person.
it's a frozen, like, think somebody who met the gaze of a Medusa, except for like ice.
Okay. Gotcha.
And she said, find Finka?
I don't suppose she said anything else.
He will just say that he didn't really spend the time with her in her last days, that it was the main cleric that did, as he's like the leader of the village, and they wanted to keep things kind of hush-hush, hence the rumors not traveling. So the main cleric might be able to offer you more, but all he has is his condolences, and he needs to return to business, so he will leave you there in the catacombs with the main cleric and the bodies of frozen people.
One last question before you leave.
Yeah.
Was there someone else who was with her before she died that might have a bit more information?
Yeah, just the main cleric was the last person, because she was helping him out, with trying to heal and all of that.
Okay, thanks.
And he nods again, like has this like look of he's really sorry in his eyes, and like heads out.
I've got some
Kadra,
serious questions for this cleric.
Kadra realizes it probably will do no good, but she wants to attempt two things. She would like to lay on hands to Diana and just kind of push a couple of hit points in there, see if anything happens.
So Kadra puts her hands on the ice, and you see the sort of magic from, inside of her cup try to go into the ice, and her hands sort of glow a little bit, and the ice around her hands looks like it's trying to glow, but nothing happens.
Okay. And then the next thing I would like to do is divine sense and just see if any of these encapsulated, well, not encapsulated, but frozen people are actually undead, fiends, celestials, anything other than who they actually were. Or if there's anything else in this basement.
There is nothing creepy in the basement. There is no zombies or anything going to eat you. It's just a cold, dark place in a frozen Viking land. Also, no, they were all just elves and dwarves, regular people that, were adventuring, things like that. Some of they're different kind of adventures, so you maybe might feel a little like celestial light radiating from a holy person. There is a cleric or two. You know how clerics like to adventure too. They don't just want to sit in the chapel all day. Boring. But, you find some of that, but nothing that really is indicative of it being anything otherworldly.
Okay.
Ulfsaga, did the guy that was leading me to the other cleric, did he introduce me, or did he?
He just he said, here's the dude, and he says, you guys could have your conversation. He'll offer you the information, and he nods and leaves you. And so the man, he talks to you very very nicely, and he's very easygoing. He's a cleric. He's meant to be, and he just sort of begins to converse with you, answering your questions and offering you any information that you might want or need. So,
oh gosh, I have so many questions.
Go for it. We'll answer them.
First of all, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ulfsaga Grimbringer Yarnveather, and I just wanted to know what's happening. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any inkling as to what this could be?
He doesn't. He says he's never seen anything like this before. It just sort of started happening to the adventurers, and they thought it could be something they, contracted along the way. And then other people in the village started, having the same issues. So he pretty much gives you the same details, but a little more in depth, talking to you about like what the symptoms look like, how the freezing kind of happened, what the veins looked like as they got deeper blue, how the skin gradually changed, almost as if they were like freezing from the inside out.
Huh. So I have a question for you then. For him. How long have you been involved in their treatment? Have you been involved since the beginning, like with Finka's mother?
The very beginning. Since the very beginning, before Finka's mom even got here.
What have you done differently? Why have you not been infected when everybody else is becoming infected?
I haven't done anything any differently. Some people did get sick, some didn't. Like the town's leader didn't, my assistant cleric didn't, the wives and husbands of a couple of the adventurers different. It's just been this sort of like sporadic,
so it's
random sort of thing,
Did you touch any of them?
We've touched all of them.
In the background, Runa would like to kind of stop and pause and ritually cast Detect Magic, just to kind of get an idea of the area they're working with and if anything might be happening with those that are frozen. She's going to stop and kind of lean forward slightly. Her arms and shoulders, you can see the gears in the joints working, and there's going to be a slightly lullaby tune that's playing in the background very softly for about 10 minutes or so. And when she pops to, hopefully, maybe she'll see something. Maybe she won't. She's just trying to get an idea of nothing else seems to be popping out and alerting them. Maybe she can see something they don't.
So the only sort of magic that you detect on any of the bodies that you're checking is the remnants of any of the magic that the clerics had tried to use. Some of the spells that they had put on the people trying to heal them before they froze, some things like that, and some
Sure.
false lives and things like that. So you feel like some healing kind of magic, but nothing malicious, no malintent, nothing that seems like they did this on purpose. The only other kind of magic that you feel comes from sort of the altar area where they would worship or, pay homage to whichever gods are the gods
Perfect.
of the dead stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Could
have another question.
Kadra? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I have another question.
Sure.
What you said that they seem like they're kind of freezing from the inside out. So have they eaten anything? Like, is there something in like the local flora or fauna that could be affecting their them literally from the inside out?
He kind of like scratches his head a little and says, we did think of that a little, but given as it's been, winter, they hadn't eaten anything here because they came back in the wintertime, but they were gone for a whole year. That's why we thought maybe it was an isolated incident, that maybe just something that had happened to them until, others in the village started to get sick. And, it was at first, it was a couple people that had come in contact. So then we started quarantining people. And then after the quarantine, it felt like maybe it was, airborne because it was just random, but none of this makes sense to any of us. I've never, in my 80 years of being alive, I've never, ever in my life seen anything of this insanity.
Do you sense any kind of life coming from them?
It feels like just a small pulse, which is why we didn't want to bury them. Just like when you cast false life on somebody and they just have that little tiny little bit of hanging from the nether, left in them. That's just about all I can feel. It's just that little thing. But we did try that on all of them to hope to preserve them. But I don't know if it's our magic keeping them or if it's this mysterious illness. I wish I knew, and I hope that we can, with the help of you folks, find some answers. My apologies to think about her mother.
I have a weird question now.
Okay.
Have you tried breaking anything off of them? Like, not like hair or something, but like a piece of hair?
He looks at you and goes, no. He just he looks kind of shocked, and then he kind of looks at you and he's like, the only thing I could think about was preserving them. I wanted to not hurt them any way possible in case that could cause us not to fix them if we could find a way to fix them. I didn't think about sciencing them.
While all this is taking place, can Kadra just be going from body to body and examining them and just seeing if anything looks weird or out of place, or if any of the bodies have any of the same veins in the same place or cracks anywhere, anything that might lead her to some sort of conclusion or idea?
The only thing that you see that seems to be similar is the original 5 from the adventuring party seem to all have the same tattoo. It's blue because they're frozen, but it's a blue blade. It looks like a dagger, but it's very edgy and pointy and looks like some sparkle was tattooed into it, like it would look like glass if they weren't frozen in ice. But it's just those original couple that have anything different, but most of them, they're humans and dwarves and elves and just, people.
Did any of the clerics that helped, did Diana, for example, or anyone like that, did they interact with the original 5 at all?
They interacted with everybody because they were sick for so long. It took them some time before they froze over. It was quite some time before the original couple of 6, actually froze. We had time to reach out to some people that we had hoped would be able to help, Diana being one of them, and a couple others who are around doing cleric-y things. Diana and one of the other clerics from another place also got sick after helping, so they're frozen in another room.
I'll bring the cleric to one of the original bodies and point out, not touching, but point out the daggers. Have you touched anywhere near this area on any of the originals?
Yeah, that's their that's the tattoo of their adventuring guild. They're the glass blades.
Does Elfsaga hear any of that conversation?
If you're traveling together, which I assume you probably are, then yes.
Did they have that before they left?
Yeah, they're the glass blades. They're a little local guild. There's a handful of them still left. Nobody that went on that adventure particularly, but there is a woman named Mila who is a female elf that would probably offer you a little information of the glass blades should you want to know about them. But they're just like an adventuring guild,
Sorry, I was just saying it would be nice to know what that last mission that they had before they came home was.
Perhaps we should speak to this Mila to find out what information she has on that.
I agree.
Mr. Other Cleric, have you spoken to Mila about her any interactions with them that she might have had, or any stories they might have told?
Yeah, Mila is a rookie into the Glass Blade. She's just a fairly new inductee within the last couple of weeks. So she doesn't really have too much information, just, some of their old adventuring stories. She might be able to offer something up to you if you wanted to speak with her. You could find her upkeeping watch at the guard tower.
Okay. Before we leave, can I look at the very, very first person that started to experience these symptoms before we go?
Sure.
Patient 1.
Also, of the people who haven't gotten sick, is there anything distinctive about those people?
No, they're just regular people just like everybody else. Some of those belong to other adventuring guilds. Some of them don't. It was just very sporadic and random. We couldn't find any patterns or rhyme or reason. We tried quarantines, protecting women and children. We shut schools down, things of the sort. And it just seemed to, touch who it wanted and not who it didn't. I don't know.
Do any of the people sickles look abnormally, maybe not abnormally small, but are they just very small people that possibly have ghost feet? Out of curiosity.
I don't think so.
Biscuits.
Cadre inspects their all feet.
Any large people with small feet?
No large people with small feet. They're elves and dwarves and humans and no wings.
Damn.
The only person that you've seen with wings is nobody.
So the blue veins, when they start appearing, do they start in a particular place and then fan outwards, or do they just sort of start appearing everywhere?
It just sort of seems as if when their heart pumped, it started maybe in the heart, where your blood mostly pumps from in the beginnings. So it came from, starts from the central and out.
Okay.
I, as the DM,
That sounds like
have
it's something
character over the table. I don't know shit about bodies, so wherever the hell blood pumps from is where it started. Under the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a cleric, so I know all of the things. So I'm telling you very scientifically exactly where the stuff happened, and I'm pointing to the place, and I'm drawing you the exact particular pattern.
Medieval
as-
Grey's
It's very
Anatomy.
intricate, it's very sciencey, and it's very detailed.
Amazing.
Yes.
As an IRL
50
biologist,
Shades of Mr. Cleric Grey.
yeah, you're good. That makes sense. So it sounds like whatever this is being transported in the blood, and it's not necessarily something that's, you know, in the skin or something else superficial. So whatever it is got into them somehow. It wasn't necessarily something they just came into contact with.
Terrifying.
Mm.
How many days did this process take from the lines appearing to being completely frozen?
They got back about 2 months ago, and they were gone for a year. So I don't know if they started feeling any sort of symptoms that they didn't tell us about before they got back, but it was just about 3 or 4 days after they got home that they started like outwardly showing the sort of sluggishness and things of the sort. And then like it was like a pretty kind of slow process in the beginning, and then the more people that started to contract it, it feels like it got like a little faster. So about 6 weeks for the first group, and then in the last couple of weeks it's taken less and less and less, to where it's only just now within a week's time, once they start showing symptoms, they're frozen.
I think this
That's
Mila
interesting.
person would be able to help offer a lot of information on where these people have been for the last year. I feel like that's going to really lead us somewhere.
Or if
Did
not,
anybody
maybe
who-
she could point us in the direction of some leader who could.
Did anybody
Exactly.
who was infected start having any kind of complaint before they started showing outward symptoms?
No, not that I know of. Like I said, until like they started, acting a little weird and going a little sluggish and feeling the cold in the veins, like we didn't really know anything until that sort of stuff started happening.
So there weren't any internal symptoms before the external ones started showing up.
Maybe they did. They didn't really want to talk too much about it. I assume that when, your body's being overtaken and you feel like you're being frozen from the inside, you're not too really happy, because that would freeze your medulla oblongata, and it would make it feel like you had a really big mouth and not a big enough toothbrush to brush them all with. And so you would just be pretty upset and probably not want to really talk about your feelings too much, rather than just be like, fuck all the way off, Pardon my direct dialect of language, of course.
Did Finka's mother, as a healer, as somebody who would know kind of what to look for, did Finka's mother say anything about feeling unusual in the days before she started exhibiting symptoms?
No, not really. The only thing that she really said was that we really needed to figure this out and to find her daughter, because she's hypervigilant, and she knew she would be a good person to help. So
That's probably
and
true.
she brought friends. This is great. This is really great that she brought friends. Your mother knew, Finka, that you were here to do Destiny's work. It's just great. The gods have directed you.
Finka has a very dubious expression on her face right now. Did she say anything else? She knows I can't do magic. She booted me out of the house when I was 12 because I couldn't fucking do magic. At least not enough to be useful.
She did sort of mention that you didn't necessarily have a wizard's touch about things, but she did say that you're...
I don't think that's helpful.
Well, she did say you're sort of brutish presentation of yourself would get you places in the world, and she always knew that for you, and that it should come in handy.
She told me I would die alone and would never find a man when she was mad at me.
Oof.
Well,
Sometimes
sometimes,
brutish.
clerics don't really go through family counseling classes when we're learning how to like pray and stuff, and learning about, you know, body functions and capillaries and stuff like that, you know, all direct science, metals, you know, all of that. But if I were ever to offer a small bit of information, maybe regarding families and parents and stuff, I have no kids. I swore that I wouldn't do those things, you know, a really long time ago, yada, yada, you know the drill, you know the drill. But if I was to say, I would just say, sometimes people say things when they're angry that they don't really mean, and maybe there's a part in her heart that she just really wanted to apologize but didn't know how to do it. I don't know. You should talk to her whenever you get her unfrozen, because I suspect that you're going to be successful in unfreezing her. I have a million things to do. Can I answer you any more questions?
Yes.
You're very talkative.
Was there
I don't-
anybody that did not have any contact with any of these people that still ended up with these symptoms? Maybe somebody from
Yes.
town? Really?
Yes.
Did they change? Did anything happen in their routine that was different from when the adventuring party came in? Do you know?
No, we had, you know, a couple of travelers come in and come into work. We're getting closer to winter going away, so we're starting to get people in. Fishing is getting ready to get big. You know, we have people in and out all the time. So some people come in, be here, and then, you know, they get sick. Nobody came in sick as far as we knew, other than, you know, the original couple. But
And some of
Yes.
those folks didn't have any contact with any of the folks that have been sick so far.
no, we had already started quarantining when he'll take you to a room where you'll see a very, very short dwarven man with a long leather sort of trench coat. He's got a very square, broad jaw. Strapped to his back is a crossbow almost as large as he is, that has the name Beatrice scrawled into the side of it in like some very elegant sort of decorative details. And he'll point out this man, and he points him out and says that he's a sea captain. And
That is a classy name. I'm going to measure his feet.
Does he have a
they're-
peg leg?
he has one peg leg, and his other foot is normal dwarf short body size ratio.
Biscuits. All right. We should go and talk to Mila and see if she can give us any new information, unless other people have other questions.
One more question. You said there wasn't a lot of connections personally between the victims. I don't suppose you noticed any geographic component to those who were coming down? If there wasn't a link in, you know, personal contact, was there any sort of place that all these people, a place they had in common, even if they didn't have any people in common?
You know, I can't really say for sure. Obviously, all of the adventuring party of the Glass Blades were together.
Of course.
They were gone for a whole year. They were, I assume, at several different places. I hadn't really gone over the details of their travel notes too well to find out exactly all the places that they were, but I saw a few and
People
things of the sort.
Here,
To what? I'm sorry?
the people who got sick here, the locals.
No, I don't think so. No, nothing different. I think everybody was just going on about their day, aside from being quarantined whenever we did, when they just, you know, started getting sick.
Yeah, all right. You mentioned travel notes. Does that mean you have access to notes they kept?
Yeah, you could find them probably at Ergon's cabin. Once you talk to Mila, she will probably take you there. She usually is standing guard as the rookie. She gets the shit jobs. You know how that goes.
Do I?
You might.
Let's go find Mila.
I don't think I do. But yes, let's do that.
And you go, and you leave, and you do the thing. And he goes back to doing whatever it is that very sciencey, medically cleric people do. Yes. All right, so then you go, and Mila takes you go up, and you're able to go up to the guard tower, and you're able to encounter Mila. She's in a very big hurry. She tells you she'll talk to you all that she can when she gets back to guarding the cabin. She is running late and doesn't want to get in any more trouble. She's tired of swabbing the poop deck, as rookies get to do when they get in trouble.
Olsaga is going to very subtly
She
follow
takes
her.
you with her. Yeah, she'll take you. She'll be like, come, I'll show you. You can come with me. I'll talk to you. I just got to go. Yeah, she's very willing to talk to you. Yeah, she'll
Walk
talk
and
to you.
talk.
She just
Walk
on her
and talk.
very quick on her way. Yeah, pretty much. Like, we got to move or my ass is grass. Moving it. She tells you when you know, she's walking and talking that, you know, the mayor already came and talked to her and told her that, you know, you would probably be wanting to go to Ergon's cabin, given that you were willing to investigate this sort of illness that's going around. And once you get there, she'll stop, take a breath, pant, and say, okay, rest of the questions.
Where's the cabin?
It is right here.
Oh, okay.
Pointy building in the corner.
And where are we?
Where are you?
Yeah.
She took you here and you were up around this area.
Oh, okay. So we're at the cabin now.
Yeah, she had you walk and talk with her.
And sorry, what's the guy's name that the cabin belongs to?
Ergon. Ergon Wenth. I will type it to you.
And is he one of the adventurers that is now an icicle, or is he
Yes,
here?
he was one of the original adventuring party that is exactly that, an icicle.
Is there anybody else Mila? Is there anybody else in the glass daggers that's available to talk?
In the glass blades,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
most everybody is out adventuring, except for our cleric and the cabin mother, and then me, because I didn't get to go because I'm still too green horned or whatever it is that they called me. It wasn't very nice, and it really kind of hurt my freaking feelings. So now I'm sitting here doing guard duty.
Makes sense.
So no, not really. But if you wanted to talk to the cook, they might have a good recipe for bear stew.
That's lovely.
Very good. But okay. So I do have a question for you then, Mila. What was my question? Oh, it's gone.
Notes.
Oh.
Merrick mentioned there might be notes.
Was there anybody in the glass plates that was here and then left since the onset of this illness?
No.
Oh.
No.
Do
The last returning party was Ergon's party, and the other group left a week before Ergon got back.
Where was their destination? The group that first displayed the sickness. Where had they been for the last year?
They were off exploring a place, which I told you the name, Iselcross.
Is it normal for a group to be gone for so long?
Yeah, they're one of our, usually it's like 6 months, sometimes it's a year. It just depends really on the contract that they're on. They're one of our like scouting groups, right? So they go out farther and longer, and then they come back with maps and things of the sort to kind of help the rest of the adventuring guild. Sometimes they'll lead tours. They adventure into ruins so they can draw maps. They have a cartographer usually that goes with them who's very, very good at what they do. But they're kind of like our forward scouting group.
And did they bring back any maps this time?
There might be some stuff in Ergon's cabin if you wanted to go in and look at it. I didn't touch anything.
Has anybody else been in the cabin? Anybody maybe related to the other folks that have been sick?
Well, the clerics and the village leader has been inside, but really nobody else. Once they started doing the quarantine, they wanted to keep people away.
Do you know if they went anywhere other than Islecross on their way back?
Or the direct route was, it might be indicated on the map, but there and back, I assume they took the same way there and back. I really don't know, but I'm willing to let you go in and look around if you would like to look around. I'm still really
Yes, please.
very new to this. I'm still learning, and I think the only reason that they let me join is because everybody else is frozen or gone.
Okay, first of all, that's very sad for you. Second of all, can we go in, please?
Yeah. And she opens up the door to his kind of cabin. And it's not as extravagant as it looks in the picture, but it is a cramped, dark cabin that might have been a cozy place when the owner was alive. Now an unmade bed stands near a cold fireplace, its mantle hung with the head of some snarling white beast with gray horns. On the other side of the room, a small table strewn with dirty dishes is set with a dwarf-sized chair, stands before two empty shelves whose contents are scattered across the floor. Kitchen utensils, dried foodstuffs, adventuring gear, and a few books.
Does the beast look like the deer that we had caught earlier?
It doesn't, but you can roll me a nature check to figure out what it is.
Runa
Nice.
is immediately drawn to the books, so she's going to go over and investigate that.
Okay. We'll do the head first, and then we'll go on to the books. Fair?
Wonderful.
Okay. It is a nature check for the head. Please,
Okay.
whoever it is.
Nature is I got a 12, and I don't have any bonus for that.
So you're quite unable to kind of recognize what this strange large creature's head is, but you know it is definitely not the same kind of head as the deer, as this is snarling and vicious, and the deer was sweet and loving looking.
Could I?
So the
look
only
for a map?
similarity is just that they're both like white creatures.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, now the books. Runa, an investigation check, please.
Yes, absolutely.
I want maps, all the maps.
Okay.
When she's done, I'd like to see if there's any of interest in his entering gear.
Okay.
That's a 12 for investigation.
Okay. You search through these books and you find a receipt folded in one of the books used as a bookmark. The receipt is dated 2 months previous and indicates that Ergon sold several Aeorian items found in Islecross to a local antique shop for 1,000 gold pieces. The items are listed as a dagger, a scroll case, a jade statuette, a quiver of 20 arrows, a silver ring set with a jasper, and 2 blue glass vials.
All of those things are for sure cursed.
Oh, there's no question.
I'm going to pinch and hold on to that receipt and bring it over to the group and bring it up at the appropriate time.
Did somebody get all of that? I was catching up on my notes from like
Hold
5
on.
minutes ago.
Got you right here.
Yes, DM, if you wouldn't mind a quick rundown of that again.
There it
I think
is.
I got it all.
Oh, it's in
A
chat.
receipt.
Okay, cool.
Yep, I did send it to you in chat, but I'll run it down again.
Perfect.
A receipt dated 2 months previous that indicates that Ergon sold several Aeorian items found in Islecross to a local antique shop for 1,000 gold pieces. The items are listed as a dagger, a scroll case, a jade statuette, a quiver of 20 arrows, a silver ring set with a jasper, and 2 blue glass vials.
We should find out if any of those were sold.
The receipt seems to indicate that they were.
No, I mean to someone else in the village.
Oh, sold after he's yeah, okay.
Well, Finka, do you think your
Hmm.
mother would have picked up any one of those items?
I mean, she's a druid, so anything natural. She's a druid who heals people, so the glass vials, maybe if she thought they might be useful. I doubt any of the rest of it would interest her. I mean, my father and I use arrows. My dad's a Fletcher, so if the arrows seemed unusual, or I don't know, she might have kept those too, but most of that seems like, I don't know, the kitschy stuff you put on your mantelpiece, you know?
Mm-hmm. DM, when we were looking at the bodies in the basement, did they still have their personal effects on them?
Ew.
A few maybe had them like still on them, but all of their belongings, if they were from out of town, are in the room. And if they weren't, their belongings are still in their home, left to their families, of course.
Maybe we should find out where they treated the ill and see if those 2 glass vials are there.
Or any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things that might be of interest to my mother. Some of these other things might have been of interest to other folks in town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the
We might just ask
that,
around in general about these things and see if anyone has seen anyone with one of these things.
It might
whether
just
they're
be
frozen or
worth
not.
absolutely looking into where these things may have ended up after they sold them, for sure.
I
Does
would
the
think
receipt?
the owner would know who he sold them to.
Yeah, DM, does the receipt seem to indicate where the antique shop is? Is it one local here, or did he sell these things before he got there?
Local to the town,
got here.
called Pelk's Curiosities.
That is what
I
we did.
want to go to that store.
We
Okay.
all-
Absolutely.
Who
Is there
was it
anything
looking
else?
at the adventuring equipment?
That was me.
Okay, so when you look through his adventuring equipment, you find a silvered maul, a suit of splint mail armor sized for a dwarf, bulky fur-lined clothing also sized for a dwarf, a grappling hook, and a hooded lantern.
Nothing special, or
Nope, that's all that was in there. Did anybody I couldn't remember if anybody said they were doing just like a general investigation of the area.
Yeah,
I would like to look for maps.
Okay.
Specifically.
For the whoever's doing the general investigation, roll give me a DC 12 investigation check, please. And I will give you information from there if you pass it, and then we'll go on to the map thing.
Can more than one of us roll for that if we're not doing anything?
Sure, you absolutely can.
I have 18.
Okay.
14 plus 0. 14.
Okay.
15.
Runa
Anything
rolled
above
a
a 12.
5.
Runa got stuck.
Anything above a 12, you realize as you're examining the kind of mess in the cabin that somebody was here looking for something, like it was trashed while they were searching for something. And you see a set of footprints.
Fucking footprints.
Are they small, ghostly looking footprints?
They're not small, ghostly looking footprints, but they are dwarven size footprints.
I'm going to stick my head out the door. Mila!
Yeah.
What dwarves have been in here recently?
Nobody's been in here when I've been here, I think.
Who guards this place when you're not here?
Well, usually just me here all the time, and sometimes I leave to get something to eat, but but promise if I tell you, you won't tell on me, because I just got joined and I don't want to get kicked out. Sometimes I fall asleep, and I took like a 6-hour nap yesterday, And God, did it feel good. When I woke up, I felt refreshed and rejuvenated, like I was just a fresh young elf all over again of just only 120
Hey, that's
years
great,
old.
Mila. Let me ask you a question. Do you know of anyone in the village who might be a dwarf who might want to, ransack the place?
Well, there's a lot of dwarves here, and I don't know. There was the lady that was in the party with him, when he got sick first, and then she got sick a couple days later. Tolgi, I think her name was. She was pretty angry when she came here, but I didn't let her in.
Okay.
I
Tolgi,
don't-
Where's
you
her
said?
house? Where's
Oh,
Toby's
her
Where
house.
is she now?
Oh yeah, she's frozen, sick.
Mhm.
Oh,
We picked up on that.
How fresh are these ransacking prints that we saw?
Within the last couple days. Like
So she's been
since
frozen.
They got frozen. Yeah, she was
Oh,
from the
since
original
they got
party,
frozen,
so
yeah.
whenever they got frozen, whenever that group got frozen, so within that little last bit of time.
and does she have another abode close by, or was she camping here?
No, she's got her own house. Just on the other side of the village. She's got her own little house too.
Does she have family
Can you
in
take
said
us there?
house?
No, she didn't have any family. Not that I know of, anyway. But you can go there if you want.
So just
Perhaps we should.
a word of advice, Mila. If you're the only one guarding a place and you have to take a nap, maybe set some booby traps. In case anyone
What's a
breaks
booby
in.
trap?
It's exactly
You
what it
understand
sounds like,
when you're
Mila.
older.
Exactly what it sounds
Just throw a boob out. They'll stop. You'll wake up. There you go.
She
That's how you
looks
get
at
drinks
you.
in.
She looks at you, contemplating the quote unquote throw a boob out statement. She looks down at herself and reveals that she's fairly board chested and says, maybe that kind of trap wouldn't work. Any other ideas?
Mila,
Getting drinks?
I have to say, I really admire your passion. You seem like you're a very passionate person. But I maybe wonder if a career change is in line for you.
Well, for a really long time before I did this, I did serve drinks at the tavern, but that was just so boring, and I really wanted to go on adventures. And then I really tried for a long
And you
time to go on
flirt with
adventures,
the
and they
rat
just
person.
kept telling me no, and they kept telling me no, and no, and no, and no, and no, and then I would just, do all of the things that they didn't want me to do, and so they just didn't let me join, and then they got frozen, and then all of the rest of them were on adventures, and then now I got to join. So I think, like I said, maybe in an era of desperation, but I'm doing my best.
Hey, Mila.
Is everyone here so talkative? Good lord.
Possibly. If
Hey,
you
Mila.
were talking to frozen people and yourself all day long, you'd be really talkative for other interactions too, I think.
I run around the woods all by myself.
Hey, Mila.
Never mind.
Do you know where to get some bells?
Bells?
Mm-hmm.
Like ding dong bells?
Yep, ding dong bells.
Yeah, probably at the general store in town. That's where you buy most things.
I'm going to take her and show her how to set up a ding dong bell booby trap so that she'll hear it and wake up.
Oh, the other kind of booby trap.
Yes.
Doesn't involve drinks though, so less fun.
True.
So like a fishing line with like a little bell on it across the
Mhm.
doorway.
Yep.
She's very fascinated and super excited and probably irritating the piss out of Finka with how fast she's talking and how fast she's moving around and like how excited she's being. Totally a valley girl in the moment,
Yep.
and really, really, really loving it. She's like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And she like flicks the line with her fingers, like ding. She's like, bro, no one's ever going to see that. I almost didn't see that. That's the coolest thing ever. Oh my God, thank you. And she gives whoever just taught it to her the biggest hug ever.
I give her a pat on the back and I just tell her it doesn't matter how you got here, but you got to prove yourself at some point. This will help you.
She's like, dude, you're
Someone
like the
should put some
coolest
bourbon
person
in her
ever.
milk.
Do what
Nobody's-
with milk?
Put some, like, her parents need to put bourbon in her milk to make her go to sleep.
Apparently,
I don't think
sleep
so.
is
She
not
has
the
any trouble
problem.
sleeping, obviously.
Oh, yeah. So we have excited
cabin.
grasshopper,
Yeah,
and
it's on
we
the other, but it's on the
Comfort.
other town.
Well, should we go look at this other cabin then?
I think it would be worth a look.
Maps, notes.
I want to find whichever she was looking for.
Yes, I agree.
Assuming
That's
she
nice.
found it, of course.
Notes. Maps, notes.
Can we help Finka look for maps and notes?
Yes, you can. You don't find any.
I wonder what he was looking for.
Question mark.
Off
So
to the
maybe
cabin,
those
then.
things might be in, yes, the criminal's house.
Yes, the criminal's house. If you look at the map, it is the one with the smoke coming out of it here. Just because it looks cool and I like it.
Valid.
Trudge towards it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So once you kind of get closer, this peaceful snow-covered cabin looks quiet from the outside. Its windows are shuttered, and a steady stream of smoke piping out of the chimney indicates it's a fire roaring within.
But the owner is dead. Well, frozen.
Frozen.
So, who wants to knock on the door?
I
Bex
will.
is just
Bang,
gonna-
bang.
So you knock on the door, and it's like a heavy kind of door, but it kind of like pushes just a little bit, like it's not fully shut all the way.
I will barge right in.
I'm right behind her.
So once you get inside, you realize that the reason the chimney is still piping hot is because the woman, being a dwarf, is very much used to building things with their hands out of stone, and they have built this elaborate sort of fireplace chimney system that has this sort of hopper that feeds coal into the fireplace consistently as long as there's some in it to keep it warm inside. And there's actually nobody in the house, but
Runa
the
immediately
heat,
Runa immediately feels at home in this environment.
yeah, so the heat in this small cabin hits you like a hammer blow. A table is set with neatly stacked dishes, tools, and utensils in the center of the room. There's like a soup pot hanging over the stove or over the fire. There's nothing in it. There's an iron brazier at the opposite end of the room that also is empty, like it normally would be built, lit. And the bed seems a little messy, but there's nobody laying in the bed.
Any
Looking around, do we
obvious
see anything from the
stolen
receipt?
items?
Any obvious stolen items? It's a good question.
Like maps or notes?
Or any of those items from the receipt.
Yes.
Or any of those, yes.
So, give me an investigation check.
Wait, where's my numbers?
Vex got a 16.
I got a
Oh, holy shit! Natural 20.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Okay.
So investigation is 22.
Okay. So you find the journal that belongs to Tolgi, and when you start flipping through it, you can see like the story of how her and her sister came to Noovorik a few years back, and that she came here looking for treasure from Isocross, knowing that the glass daggers did, adventuring. And so when, she knew to get a hold of some of those things, she volunteered to go and then waited for the guy, Ergon, to sell them. And then she went and stole them all. She gave them all to her sister, except for one, the ornate dagger, which she says that she still has in her journal, obviously. And she talks about how she searched through his cabin and stuff, because once she started getting sick, she immediately blamed him, thinking that it was his fault because he brought the dagger and stuff back. And it talks about that her sister stays in a place just a little north of the village where they keep their treasure and things like that. You can find the dagger tucked up under her pillow, and it's in a gilded sheath. Somebody's microphone is dragging bad. Ooh, that was killing me. Sorry. Anyways, the dagger is sheathed and stuck up under the pillow, and she has all of this sort of stuff written in her notes. Some of the notes that are in there talk about the ancient flying city of Aor and the sort of information sort of surrounding that. If you wanted to take that notebook to kind of read into that lore, you could do so.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, the dagger is here, but nobody touch it, just in cases.
Is anybody able to see if it's magical?
I can take some time with it to sit beside it and detect if it's magical.
I mean, I think we should
Runa.
touch it. I just don't think we should, put a glove on or something.
I wouldn't have to touch it to detect if it was magical. I could just be beside it.
You should do that then.
So Runa's going to again sit down, and she's going to kind of pop her joints out and become this living music box. And while she slowly is stasis in this moment, she will detect magic as ritual.
Okay. So this does offer some magic coming out of it. It is a +1 dagger. And as you're detecting the magic, Runa, you feel this sort of ancient magic deep within the dagger's creations. You were a dwarf's companion. You've spent a lot of time listening to your master telling you stories and things of the sort. And this magic and the city of Aor rings a bell to you. And you remember hearing the story of the lost land of Sumarkula.
Lost land of Sumarkula.
Mm-hmm. And the flying city, the fallen flying city of Aor is rumored to have been from the continent of Ton within Sumarkula. So those are things that you would know from old dwarven lore, from hearing your forge master talk about these things along the way as they taught you how to entertain and be a living storyteller.
I'm going to relay this information to the group about Sumarkula and the dagger and all of this, how it connects to my maker and growing up, these stories that I was made to tell.
Finka, you're holding the journal, right?
I am.
Okay. As you flip through the journal in the back, you find the map you were looking for.
Huzzah! Look, I found a map. Does it have anything as simple as X marks the spot? This is where AR is. Or, or Islecross.
It shows you, it's the map of, you can see where Ton is, and then you can see where Aor would be, the floating city there.
Gotcha. So that's Islecross?
This floating city is Aor. Ton is here. Islecross is sort of one of the areas in the main continent of Ton, right? So you see how it's like deserty here and like foresty here. Islecross is the foresty side over here where the fallen city of Aor is.
Excellent. And where are we on this map?
You are not on that map.
Interesting. All right. Okay, so context, but not a lot of context. We know where a bunch of places are, but we don't know where those places are in relation to us. Good. Do any of these names of these continents ring any bells?
Not to any of you except for Runa and Kadra.
What
Hold
bells
the
are
map
they
up. Any
ringing?
names? Anybody? Anybody?
Kadra, you know these names. You know these places. You
Mhm.
have seen this before in another place and another time. That is all I will offer you.
It's very, very, very old. And not somewhere I've looked forward to going much.
Wait, so this is from a long time ago,
I think so.
this map? So these places don't exist anymore.
No, I think they're still there, but
Is it far away?
yeah, very far away. I can see why it took them a year or so.
Oh, right. Forgot about that.
I have not traveled here, but I have heard of these lands. It is far.
I'm not good with tone of voice. Yours seems like the memories are unpleasant.
Is this not a place we'd want to go?
I apologize for that. My memories of anything from that far back for me are unpleasant, but not necessarily the area itself, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
This Sumarkula. Do you know what that's referencing? I mean, these other place names seem like they're referencing these land masses.
Would I recognize that that's just the continent or the area or?
What does that mean?
So these are the names of the continents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like Ton is one continent. Hjarta is one continent. The islands that have Hjarta over them are labeled so that way you know they belong to the same continent. Rig, its own continent. Hala, its own continent. Talon's Clor, its own continent. And then Botany Hemsis is also its own place. It is the bottom of the world.
But Sumarkula, what is that reference?
That is the whole
That's the
world name.
Is this like a different world? Then? Is that
You might be onto something. You might
Like
be
another-
onto something.
like another plane?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Oh man.
So you're not kidding when you say far away.
Right.
Couldn't just walk there.
No wonder it took
Not
a year.
comfortably.
A year doesn't seem so long now.
They must have had some sort of. I'm reasonably sure you can't just. There's not. Well, maybe I just don't know about them, but reasonably sure you can't just walk into another plane accidentally. I think you have to.
Well, it has happened before, but usually there's some sort of portal or opening.
I think my mother knew of people who could do that, but it seemed very purposeful, and that those doorways didn't just hang around. You stepped through them and then they closed behind you.
I wonder if we go back to the other cabin, we can find something that could direct us to this other plane. Like if there's anything that would say something about like a portal or something. If we were to go back and look.
What's interesting
perhaps-
to me is all these people who have been talking about Islecross all day don't seem like it's such a big deal to go to Islecross and back.
Yeah, that this is just what the Adventuring Guild does.
It has seemed rather mundane, yes.
I think we need to talk to the head honcho of these glass blades. Because if we're going to get here and figure out what the hell they brought back, we're going to need to get there. And I don't know about any of you, but I can't do that.
DM, would Kadra have any idea anymore how to get to any place like this?
I think Kadra should sleep on it and try to remember some things of her
Okay.
past life to try
Okay.
to get that. So, that being said, you guys have left the Battle Axe Inn, which you have changed the names to Eye in the Storm or something. Oh, I come in.
I storm
The
in.
ice
I storm in. I storm in. Yeah, so you have decided to change the name of I Storm In. You have navigated your way from one end of Calderland to the other to Noovorik, where you are learning of some things that are happening. You have acquired a journal, a list of items, a small bit of dwarven adventuring gear if you chose to pick it up, a map to something ancient and mythical, and that is where we will wrap this for the evening. You will pick up next week, coming back to head out to check on some of the items.
Huzzah.
Huzzah!
Woohoo!